Chapter 1. The Toast. The night before your wedding is supposed to feel like the start of forever. Mine felt like the beginning of something I couldn't name yet. The rehearsal dinner was perfect on paper. Low lights, clinking glasses, too much laughter, and the soft hum of people who believed in love. Chloe looked radiant. She always did when she was surrounded by attention. Her cheeks were flushed from the wine. Her hand kept drifting to mine like she needed to anchor herself. I wanted to believe that meant something. Then Liam stood up. All right, before we all get too sentimental and too drunk, I've got a few words. Liam Cross, my best man, my best friend since college, the guy who knew everything. How Chloe and I met. How long I waited to propose. Every fear I'd ever confessed at 2 a.m. over bad whiskey and worse decisions. He raised his glass and grinned. To Ethan and Chloe, two people I love, separately, together, in their own dysfunctional but adorable way. The room laughed. I smiled. But then he kept going. Now Ethan is a planner, the kind of guy who builds before he leaps. And Chloe, well, she's fire. She leaps and somehow the bridge shows up under her feet. Chloe laughed too loudly at that. Liam glanced at her like they shared a private joke. Something flickered in her eyes, something I hadn't seen before. Together, Liam said, voice dipping just slightly, they balance each other. At least, that's what we all hope, right? Another laugh, another toast, another moment that felt just slightly wrong. He sat down to applause and Chloe leaned over and whispered, he always knows how to work a room. I nodded, but my stomach was already tight. Because I'd always known Liam was charming. I just hadn't realized how much of that charm had been pointed at her. And later that night, as we climbed into bed and she kissed me like she was already somewhere else, I felt it. That tiny crack, the one you don't see until it's too late. Chapter 2. The Look. We were at the venue early the next morning, rehearsing the walk down the aisle one last time. The wedding planner, Claire, had us all moving like chess pieces. Up the aisle, down again, coordinating timing with the string quartet, double-checking the floral layout. It was chaos. Organized just enough to seem elegant. But even in all the noise, I saw it. It happened in the pause between practice rounds. Chloe had just walked through her entrance again, bouquet in hand, laughing as the florist adjusted a ribbon that had slipped. Liam stood off to the side, hands in his pockets, watching her. No one else noticed, but I did. He wasn't just admiring a bride, he was studying her. And when she turned and caught his eye, she smiled. Not politely, not accidentally. Soft, familiar, like something unspoken passed between them. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself I was reading too much into it. But then she walked back over to me and barely met my eyes. Gave me a kiss on the cheek like she was checking a box. I'm starving, she said. Can we bounce early and grab lunch before the welcome cocktails? I nodded, but the feeling didn't leave. Later, while she changed in the dressing room, I stood by the window, scrolling through photos the photographer had snapped during rehearsal. I paused on one. Liam, looking at Chloe. That same look. Chloe, mid-laugh, eyes locked on his, and me, off to the side, blurry, out of frame. I stared at that photo longer than I should have, because something deep in my gut, the same part of me that once knew to buy the ring, to book the venue, to trust this woman with my future, was suddenly asking a different question. What if I wasn't the one she was waiting for at the altar? And worse, what if I never had been?
Chapter 3. A Gut Feeling. It was the night before the wedding, and neither of us could sleep. Chloe blamed it on nerves. Too many emotions. Too many moving pieces. She tossed and turned beside me, scrolling through her phone every few minutes, saying she needed to double-check the seating chart or confirm the cake delivery time. At one point, I rolled over and offered to help. She smiled without looking at me. It's fine, just some last-minute texts with Harper. But the lock screen didn't say Harper. It said Liam. Just a glimpse, not even a full message, just the name. My pulse ticked a little faster. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask. I told myself they were probably finalizing part of the ceremony, maybe something for the toast. Liam had always been the spontaneous one, and Chloe liked things personal. That could explain it, right? The next morning, she was distant. Not cold, just somewhere else. Her eyes didn't hold mine. Her smile didn't quite land. After she left to meet the bridal party for hair and makeup, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at her phone charger still plugged in. The room smelled like her perfume and eucalyptus body wash, like comfort, like history, like a house I might not live in much longer. I wasn't looking to snoop, but I'd been raised to believe that if you have to convince yourself not to look, something's already wrong. So I did. Her laptop was still open on the desk, unlocked, messages synced. I clicked the icon, hands cold, eyes scanning. The thread with Liam was near the top. Liam, you sure you're okay? Chloe, no, but I'll get through tomorrow. Liam, we don't have to pretend anymore after this. One more day. One more day. Like I was the detour. Like this, our wedding, was the obstacle between them and whatever they thought they were becoming. I sat back in the chair and stared at the screen. That was the moment my heart stopped breaking and started reassembling into something sharper. Because she wasn't just leaving me. She was leaving me for him, and he had no idea who I was when I wasn't holding back. Chapter 4, The Confession. She asked to meet outside, just the two of us. No bridal party, no planner, no distractions. The wedding was supposed to start in 5 hours. The florist was already placing arrangements near the altar. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear laughter from a bachelorette brunch wrapping up in the hotel lounge. And there she was, standing beneath the arbor where we were supposed to say our vows. Chloe wasn't dressed yet, just jeans, a sweatshirt, and her hair tied back. No veil, no makeup. Just raw skin and unflinching honesty in her eyes. I can't do it, she said. The words hung in the air like fog. I looked at her, really looked at her. I wanted to believe she meant the venue, the timing. The shoes that had given her blisters the night before, but I knew better. She exhaled. I've been trying to make myself go through with it, telling myself this was nerves, that I owed it to you, to everyone, but I'd be lying, again. I folded my arms. So tell me the truth. She looked down, twisting her ring around her finger. It's Liam. There it was. No build-up, no soft landing. Just a blade slipped between my ribs by the only person I trusted to never hold one. How long? Chloe hesitated. It started a few months ago, around the time we locked in the venue. We weren't trying to hurt you. You were just willing to. Her jaw tightened. I thought it would stop. I thought it was just confusion. But it didn't. And now I can't keep pretending. I stared at her, this woman I had planned a future with, who now stood calmly confessing she was never fully mine. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal.
It was how certain she sounded. How peaceful, like this was a relief. She added, almost as an afterthought, "He loves me. He sees me." I said nothing at first, just breathed, because part of me wanted to scream, to demand answers, to ask how long I'd been the fool in my own life. But the other part, it had already gone cold. "Then go," I said. "You don't owe me a speech. I didn't expect you to take it this well. That's because you never knew me as well as you thought you did." I turned and started walking, and as I did, she called after me. "I'm sorry, Ethan." I didn't turn around, because sorry doesn't matter when someone already decided you were disposable. Without turning, I said, "You and Liam deserve each other." And I meant it, every single word. She made her choice, and so had I. Chapter 5, Shattered. You never really plan for how a life ends. Not a life, your life, the one you built in your head, the version with the matching wedding bands, the honeymoon itinerary, the shared mortgage, the Thanksgiving plans 2 years out, the version where the person you love doesn't wake up one day and decide you're a placeholder. But there I was, sitting on the edge of my childhood bed in my parents' house, 2 hours after what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, still wearing the same dress shirt I'd picked for the ceremony. No tie, no jacket, just the shirt. My mom sat beside me in silence, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. She didn't say much, didn't need to. There's a special kind of heartbreak mothers recognize without needing it explained. The wedding was canceled before noon. Chloe's side handled most of the outreach. She told her parents first. I didn't ask what she said, but I knew it wasn't the truth. Liam wasn't the villain yet, not to them, not yet. Vendors were furious, some were kind. The photographer offered to refund half. The florist had already delivered everything. The reception hall, non-refundable. I ate the loss, quietly, because the financial hit hurt, but not as much as the silence that followed. Mutual friends stopped calling. Some didn't know what to say, others didn't want to pick sides. The group thread with college friends, dead. I heard through someone else that Chloe and Liam had made things official, that they were moving in together, that sometimes love just finds you. No one asked how I was doing. No one asked how it felt to see your best friend take your fiancé and walk away with your life like he earned it. They just watched, from a safe distance, like it was a story playing out on someone else's screen. But grief is a strange thing. At first, it crushed me. I didn't eat, barely slept, woke up replaying moments I thought meant something, only to realize they were setups for an ending I didn't see coming. But then something shifted. Not anger, clarity. I wasn't the fool they thought I was, and if they wanted to believe they got away with it, I was happy to let them live in that delusion, for a while. Because the next chapter wasn't about picking up the pieces, it was about what I would build with them, and who I'd aim them at when I was done. Chapter 6, The Rebuild. Grief comes in waves, but revenge, that's tidal. I spent the first few weeks disappearing. No announcements, no rage posts, no cryptic Instagram captions, just gone. I moved out of the apartment Chloe and I had shared without telling anyone. Put my things in storage. Took the job offer I'd been sitting on for months, a consulting gig in a different city, a different coast, new skyline, new time zone. Nobody who knew my face or the hollowed-out version of it that had stood beside an altar never used. For the first time in a long time, no one looked at me like a tragedy. They just saw a man who got things done. At work, I stayed quiet, focused, put in the kind of hours that made people forget to ask about your personal life. Clients liked me. Colleagues respected me. I didn't give anyone a reason to dig. But behind that calm, I was tracking everything. Because you can only be shattered so long before your hands start craving tools instead of tissues. It started small. One night I typed Liam's name into a browser just to see if he'd popped up anywhere. He had. A half-built professional site with a list of credentials that were generous, to say the least. A few certifications he hadn't earned. Advisory roles at startups that didn't exist. Testimonials clearly written by himself under fake names. I saved screenshots. Nothing illegal, yet, but false enough to raise eyebrows. I dug deeper, pulled old threads from college. An ex of his had posted once, just once, about how he'd ghosted her after she'd co-signed on a car loan. Another had left a cryptic comment on a mutual friend's engagement photo. Just make sure your best man isn't also your backup plan. There was a pattern. Liam had a way of inserting himself into people's lives at just the right moment, when they were vulnerable, distracted, or too in love with an idea to notice the warning signs. He positioned himself as the confidant, the rescuer, the shortcut. And once he had what he wanted, he left wreckage. Only now he wasn't leaving. He was staying with Chloe. And I realized something chilling. He'd never had to maintain a relationship before. Never had to build one on something other than adrenaline and secrecy. That kind of man would collapse under the weight of the very thing he claimed to want. I didn't have to ruin him. All I had to do was let her see him clearly, and trust me, she would. Chapter 7, Her Wedding. I found out through Harper. She sent a screenshot. No message, just the image. An Instagram post from Chloe's account. 2 champagne flutes. A diamond ring in soft focus. A caption that read, "Round 2, and this time I know it's right." I stared at it for a long time. There was no mention of me, of course. No apology. Just curated happiness. A new fiancé who happened to be my former best man. A fresh start crafted to look like fate. Harper followed up with a single line. "You okay?" I typed out 5 different responses and deleted them all. Then finally settled on getting there. Because I was. In my own way. I didn't spiral. I didn't stew. I watched. 2 weeks later, someone forwarded me the link to their wedding website. It was public. Probably an oversight. Or arrogance. Or both. A vineyard venue this time. Smaller, more intimate. Just close friends and family. The About section said, Chloe and Liam knew from the start there was something different between them. Different, sure. Like betrayal is different from honesty. Like selfishness is different from love. They were rushing it, faster than I expected. No long engagement. Just a sprint to the altar like they were trying to outrun the doubt. But here's the thing. When you build a life on secrecy, speed is your only defense. Slow things down and people start asking questions. Liam looked polished in the photos. Pressed suit, styled beard, that same golden boy grin. But I saw something in Chloe's face, something harder to filter out. She didn't look radiant. She looked resigned. The kind of smile you wear when you're too far in to admit you might have made a mistake. I knew that smile. I'd seen it before, on the day she told me she was leaving. Right before the apology. Right before she justified it as something that just happened. Now she was planning another wedding. But this time, I wouldn't be waiting at the altar. I'd be watching from the shadows and setting the stage for a different kind of ceremony. Because what Chloe didn't know yet was that this time, I had the final toast. Chapter 8. What He Doesn't Know. Liam always thought the game ended when he won. That was his fatal flaw. He knew how to chase, how to charm, how to orchestrate drama like a maestro, but maintenance, integrity, real depth, that wasn't in his toolkit. He wasn't built for the long haul, which is why the moment I saw their wedding date set, I got to work, not to sabotage, not to interfere, to reveal. I reached out to someone I never thought I'd speak to again, Natalie, one of Liam's exes from college. She'd unfollowed all of us years ago after what we thought was a messy breakup. Back then, Liam told us she was too intense and manipulative. But now I knew better. I found her email through an alumni directory, sent her a short, respectful message, told her what had happened, that Liam was now engaged to Chloe, that I wasn't looking for gossip, just truth. It took her 2 days to respond. Then she sent me everything, screenshots, voicemails, photos of bruised bank balances and long-forgotten texts that read like a playbook of manipulation. Lies stacked like poker chips. He'd made her feel crazy for asking questions, ungrateful for wanting boundaries, and disloyal for not keeping secrets. She wrote, "He'll do the same to her. Because he hasn't changed, he just finds better mirrors." Then came another message from a woman named Eliza. I hadn't reached out to her. Natalie had. Eliza worked at a startup Liam had briefly consulted for. He'd exaggerated his credentials, taken a stipend, and ghosted right before launch. She sent me her HR complaint, the one they'd buried to avoid legal escalation. He'd walked away unscathed. Again, I compiled it all, created a private folder, password protected, screenshots, PDFs, audio snippets, a timeline with links, no commentary, just facts. Then I wrote a letter, not anonymous, not threatening, just honest. I addressed it to Chloe, told her she didn't owe me anything, that I wasn't asking her to call off the wedding, but that I knew what it felt like to build a life on a lie, and she deserved the truth before saying vows to someone who'd rewritten his past more times than he'd honored it. I dropped it in the mail with no return address. First class, tracked, delivery confirmed, 5 days before the wedding. Now all that was left was to see what she did with it. Chapter 9. A gift for the bride. Weddings are built on illusion. The illusion of permanence, the illusion of certainty, the illusion that what you see walking down the aisle is the full truth of the person standing at the end of it. But I had peeled back the illusion, and now it was Chloe's turn. The package was simple, no bow, no theatrics, a plain white envelope with her name handwritten across the front. Inside, a flash drive, a printed letter, and one line handwritten at the bottom of the note. Before you say "I do," make sure you know who you're saying it to. The contents were time-stamped, sourced, cross-referenced, not emotional, not bitter, just informative. Natalie's voice memos, Eliza's HR records, screenshots of old text threads where Liam coached another ex on what to say to her friends so she didn't blow his cover. The file included a summary of the wedding timeline I had pieced together, how he started pursuing Chloe before our engagement ended, how the overlap wasn't just emotional, it was logistical. He made plans with me while planning his exit. He toasted me at our rehearsal dinner while texting her afterward. I had no idea if Chloe would open it, no idea if she'd read past the first paragraph, but it didn't matter, because some truths are like seeds. You don't need to force them to bloom. You just plant them and wait. The morning of the wedding, I got a text from Harper. Harper, she got it. She read it. Me, and There was a long pause, then, Harper. She's shaken, but she's going through with it. Of course she was. People don't back out of weddings because of uncertainty. They back out because of conviction, and conviction takes time to take root. But seeds, they do what they're designed to do. They grow in silence, in the cracks. They don't scream, but they split the ground. So I dressed carefully, neutral suit, no tie, sat in the back row, on the groom's side, where no one would notice me unless they were looking for ghosts. And when she walked down the aisle, I watched her closely. She smiled, but her eyes scanned the crowd, and when they landed on mine, just for a second, her smile faltered. Chapter 10, The Ceremony. They chose a vineyard just outside the city. Rustic barn, white chairs lined in perfect symmetry, rows of sycamores throwing dappled light across the aisle. The kind of place that looked effortless, but cost a small fortune to make it seem that way. I arrived early, not because I wanted to be there, but because I didn't want to miss anything. The usher raised an eyebrow when I gave my name. I wasn't on the guest list, of course, but I gave him a warm smile and said, "Liam told me to swing by. Surprise appearance." He hesitated, but let me in. Confidence will get you through most gates. Silence will get you through the rest. I didn't sit up front. I stayed in the back row where no one looked twice at me. I watched the guests file in, all pastel linens and curated joy. No one noticed the tension in Chloe's mother's shoulders, or the way Liam's brother kept checking his phone. The energy was too glossy, too tightly wound. Harper spotted me first. She didn't react, just gave a small nod as she walked down the aisle with one of the groomsmen. I nodded back. Then the music started, and Chloe appeared. She looked like every bride wants to look. Ethereal, elegant, serene. But I watched her closer than anyone else in that vineyard. Her smile was measured. Her eyes swept the crowd once, twice, and then they found me. We locked eyes for less than a second. But in that second, I saw it. She knew. She knew I'd sent the file. Knew what was on it. Knew she was standing in white lace and satin, walking toward a man she couldn't unsee now. She looked away quickly, too quickly. But it was there, a flicker of doubt, the kind you can't cover with blush or a borrowed veil. The officiant welcomed everyone, spoke about love and commitment. Liam grinned through it like a man on a stage, perfect posture, too wide smile. I wondered if he even noticed the tightness in her grip as she took his hands. And when it came time for the vows, she choked. Just for a moment, a pause too long, a breath too shallow, but only the people who knew her would have caught it. And I did, because that's the thing about pretending. Eventually your body betrays the story your mouth is trying to sell. Chapter 11, The Fallout. 3 days. That's how long it took for the cracks to reach the surface. On the outside, the wedding was beautiful. No one stormed out, no one cried at the altar. Chloe said, "I do." Liam kissed her like he'd won something. But something was off. You could feel it in the photos, the stiffness in her posture, the smiles that didn't quite meet her eyes. Even the captions felt forced. "Forever started here. Best decision I've ever made." Liam reposted every picture within minutes, like he needed the world to validate what he couldn't convince himself of. But real life doesn't edit well. By day 2, rumors were swirling. A friend of mine from college messaged me. "Did you hear? Chloe canceled the honeymoon." I played dumb. "No, why?" "Something about work."
But Harper told Morgan she's not sleeping at the apartment yet. Weird, right? Not weird. Expected. See, the file I sent Chloe didn't ask her to leave him. It asked her to look. To really look at the man she'd chosen over me. And once you see someone, you can't unsee them. Turns out she started asking questions. Quiet ones. A few to Liam, a few to mutual friends. Even one to Natalie, who didn't hold back. Liam, of course, denied everything. Called it jealous ex-drama. Said I was orchestrating it. Claimed I was obsessed. That was his pattern. Deflect, deny, destroy credibility. But the truth has a way of whispering through locked doors. One of their vendors leaked an email from Liam that didn't match his timeline. Then, a bridesmaid, one of Chloe's oldest friends, admitted he'd tried to kiss her once, back before Chloe and I broke up. Said she never told Chloe, because she didn't want to cause drama. Now, drama was the only thing left. By the end of the week, Chloe had moved in with her sister. Not permanently, just to think. Harper confirmed it. She won't say it out loud, she told me. But she knows. I didn't gloat, didn't reach out, didn't say, I told you so. Because revenge isn't about shouting into the void. It's about building the silence someone else has to live with. And Chloe, she was finally hearing it. Chapter 12. The Message. It came late, 1:13 a.m. I was half asleep when my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize, no contact saved, just a single message. Can we talk? No name, no punctuation, but I knew who it was. Liam never did understand subtlety. I let it sit. At 1:17, another ping. This is Liam. I just think we should clear the air. You said your piece, now let me say mine. There it was. The shift from confident to cornered. From I got the girl to please don't burn the house down. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have things I wanted to say, but because he didn't deserve to hear any of them. An hour later, he sent a third message. She's gone. You win. Hope you're happy. Funny thing about that sentence, it told me everything I needed to know. Because to Liam, this was always a game. Winning, losing, conquering, controlling. He didn't love Chloe. He just hated losing control of the narrative. He thought if he could outshine me, outmaneuver me, he could rewrite how we'd all be remembered. But the moment Chloe left, really left, he realized the spotlight had moved, and it wasn't coming back. A few days later, Harper texted me again. Harper, he's unraveling. Told people you manipulated her, that you made it all up. Me. And she believes him? Harper, no, she's quiet, but she's clear. She knows what happened, what he is. I thanked her, and then I deleted the entire thread. I didn't need updates anymore. I didn't need validation. I had something better than revenge. I had clarity. And once you have that, once the anger fades and the grief settles, you're just free. Not because the pain didn't matter, but because you survived it. Liam would go on pretending. He'd spin the story enough times to make himself feel better. Maybe he'd find someone else to charm, to chase, to use. But Chloe, she'd remember. Every vow she spoke while doubting her own voice. Every fake smile. Every gut feeling she ignored. She didn't just lose a groom the first time. She lost the only person who had ever really seen her and chosen her anyway. And now, she was finally seeing him for who he was, just in time to live with it. Epilogue. No longer yours. 6 months later, I got a wedding invitation. Not theirs. Harper's. She was marrying someone kind, stable, a guy I'd met once at a group dinner before everything exploded. She said I didn't have to come, but that she wanted me there. It won't be weird, she promised. They're not invited. I went. Not for closure, not for show. Because for the first time in a long time, I could walk into something joyful and not feel like a ghost in the room. At the reception, the DJ played one of the songs Chloe and I had chosen for our canceled wedding. The moment it started, I stiffened, out of instinct, but only for a second. Then I smiled, because the song didn't belong to her anymore. None of it did. Later that night, while standing near the bar, Harper joined me. She called me, she said casually, sipping her champagne. A few weeks ago. I raised an eyebrow. She asked if you were seeing anyone. I laughed. What'd you tell her? I told her it didn't matter. You're not hers to check on anymore. I looked across the room, at the lights, at the people dancing without baggage or second-guessing. She ever admit it? Harper nodded, eventually, not out loud, but yeah, she knows. We stood in silence a moment. She said losing you was the worst mistake she ever made, Harper added quietly. I didn't ask if that was supposed to make me feel better, because it didn't. Not really. It just confirmed what I already knew. Chloe had chosen Liam because he made her feel electric, for a moment. I had made her feel steady, known, seen. But sometimes people mistake chaos for passion, and by the time they realize what they left behind, the bridge is already gone. Back at my place that night, I found a message request waiting in my inbox. Her name, her words. I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was wrong. I see that now. I stared at it. Then I clicked delete. Not to hurt her, just to let her go. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I was healed. And that was the ending she never expected.
but the one I always deserved.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.